All right, and we are live. Yes, I'm getting the hang of this thing. I think I got it streamlined. So good to see everyone. All right, shut that volume off there. Of course, I'm not really seeing anyone, but you guys are seeing me. Maybe I'll see somebody in the chat here in a little bit. But today is day 3 of 100 Day of Lives. And on this day, I'm going to talk about the third core issue that we all face as human beings. And I've been beginning this series of 100 videos with 8 particular topics around these core issues that we all must face, challenges we must overcome. We can't avoid these things. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what your situation is in life, where you come from, your birth parents, your identity, your gender, your what else? Social status. None of these things ultimately matter. Eventually, we will all have to face them. And this third issue is very interesting because with control, it's something that we think we really need. We are deluded in it. And like most of us with the other two, it's like lack. We realize, okay, I don't want lack, so let me get out of that situation. We don't want to be in fear, right? Those first two core issues, we definitely recognize that these are not good. These are not healthy. These are not the way we want to operate. We know we want to transcend these. But this third one is tricky because most of us are convinced that we need control, that we need to control our lives, that we need to control other people. Now, I'm going to be saying a lot of things that I'm going to have to caveat during this conversation because taken out of context, any one of the statements that I say will lead to error in understanding. Just know that. So don't take any particular sentence out of context or do so at your own peril. Because of course we need to have self-control. We need to have some degree of control over our lives. Yes. But what I'm speaking about is this type of control that wants to cling, that wants to grip, that needs to control others, that needs to control to feel safe. And that controls at its own peril because so long as we are seeking to control, we will never experience balance and harmony. I'll give you a simple example. When you're standing on a tightrope, on a slack line, for instance, and you are about ready to take that first step, in order to get to the other side, you'll never get there by trying to control the line. You can't even try to control your muscles. What needs to happen is you have to actually let go, surrender, and become one with the line, merge with it. I see people do this all the time. They step on the line. They see me get up there and I walk across. They step on the line, the thing starts going crazy. What's going on? I haven't even put any weight on it. They just put their foot on it and it starts going crazy. What's going on? What's going on? Well, the reason is because they have so much tension inside that they're not aware of. These tiny muscles that want to control everything, that are so habituated into wanting to control everything that they cannot relax and let go. And so not having the capacity to let go and relax, they are unable to walk on the line. They can't even stand on it. It takes training to undo the tendency of wanting to control. You want to get across the line. You see the goal. You know what needs to be done. You think determination will get me there. No. Not determination, not alone. Sure, only the right kind of determination, the kind that is willing to open its mind and see a new way. To recognize that the way I've been going about trying to accomplish my goal will never lead me to the goal. So I must let go of my preconceived notions, my old ways of doing things, my beliefs, my habits that don't serve me anymore. I have to surrender all those things and try something new. And so this also entails letting go of the idea that I know what is right, that my way is the correct way. We have that saying, right? My way or the highway. And this is the epitome of control. We're going to do things this way or else I'm out, or you can't work here anymore, or any of this kind of thing. And you notice when you ever experience people like that, you don't like it, right? Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes we just have to draw a line in the sand. So again, don't take any of this out of context, because there are certain times when you have to take control of things and draw a line and say you cross this line and that's it. But usually if we've gotten to that point, we've made a lot of errors along the way. Errors that could have been avoided with greater balance and greater harmony, greater leadership, greater development of character. But when we experience someone who's very controlling, you guys ever experienced this before? And ever been in a relationship, either an intimate relationship with a partner who's very controlling? I know I have. I'm sure I've been that guy too in relationship. And why do we do that, right? Why do we try to control? We seek to control. It's usually out of fear. We don't want to get hurt. We think we know best. And so we want to control someone else's actions. A lot of these habits get picked up in childhood, right? I know for myself, when I was berated by my parents for the crazy shit that I was doing as a kid, I didn't know why I was doing it. I had no idea why I was so troubled. In hindsight, I can see, because finding out from your older brother at age 5 that your dad is not your dad, and realizing that everyone that you know that you've trusted has been lying to you, it's kind of traumatic for a 5-year-old. And so that was about the time when I started getting into trouble. I started lighting fires. Again, so I'm trying to control something. What can I do? I can't go and get the things that I want, so I will go and steal them. So I stole some neighborhood kid's bike, got into all sorts of trouble for that. And then my parents would berate me. Why did you do this? Well, I didn't know why I did it. And no matter what I said, it wasn't the right answer. They just kept berating me more and more. So I just said, okay, well, in my little 5-year-old mind, I said, I'm just not going to talk. I'm not going to speak. They cannot make me speak. And that was my way of controlling something. It was the only thing that I felt I could control. But the problem with that was that it shut me down. It shut down my ability to communicate freely over time. It also created this wall between myself and my parents that even though they were trying their best, even though they were doing their best, they could never overcome that wall. They could never break that wall down and connect with me on an intimate level, on a loving level. And so I began to just build more and more of those walls and operate within this idea that I had to fend for myself, and that I had to use my own best knowing and understanding in order to navigate life. So I stopped believing in the advice and the wisdom that came from others. I stopped listening to the teachers, my parents, the priests, everyone. But that's a difficult place to be in, especially as a young boy, because we don't really have much access to wisdom at that age, very, very little. And if you have no trust in the people around you and the caretakers and the adults that actually have your best interest in mind, I mean, they really did, doing the best they could. I could have gained a lot had I been more open to it, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to let them in at that point. I didn't want to be hurt again, so I controlled by building walls. And the continuous building of those walls and trying to control things led me to becoming a very difficult teenager and creating all sorts of havoc for my life. Ultimately, it led to me becoming very restricted inside, very tense. And what happens when you hold tension like that is, you hold so much tension that initially you feel it, you feel yourself being tense, but then after so much time, you don't even feel it anymore. It's just like anything. If you're exposed to it repeatedly, it just kind of moves to the background. You get numb to it. And so this is like a survival technique. But the problem is when we become numb to ourselves, we got big problems. Limits our flow of energy, limits our ability to have openness to hear anything that's going to help us change. It limits our ability to be intimate with people, to connect with people. We all want connection. We're human beings. We thrive from connection. But when we isolate ourselves in this way, through control, through trying to control every aspect, and it starts to happen because of trauma, some kind of trauma we experienced, it shuts down parts of us. So we're holding on inside out of fear, but we usually don't even recognize that there's fear there. We're just thinking that this is the way. When someone wants to change us, then we experience that as wanting to be controlled, and we don't like that. So we resist even more. Even if someone's trying to help you when you're in that state, you won't experience it as help. At least I didn't. I experienced it as, this person just wants to control me. They think they know better. They think they know best. Fuck them. I'm going to hold on tighter. I'm going to build more walls. Sometimes we try to control by foretelling the future. We try to predict things. And while this is a natural capacity that we have as humans, and it is a good thing, we can become overly controlling in this way, and it can paralyze us. We'll say, well, I won't move until I know for sure. We become so controlling in what the future might bring that we are preventing ourselves from taking action. This has happened to me many, many times, and even recently. As I connect and commune more and more with God, and I'm being given instructions, places to go, things to do, actions to take, sometimes it sounds crazy. This is too big. I don't know if this is correct. Am I just losing my mind? And so that hesitation comes. And that paralysis. Not wanting to make a mistake. And so in not wanting to make a mistake, then I fail to act. But oftentimes the way we learn is by taking action, and even through mistakes. And so it seems to me that God would rather have us make the wrong action, but learn from it. And then we're more equipped to make the right action. Whereas if we just sit there and wait, we're stuck. We're not good for anyone. We're not building our capacity for courage. It takes courage to act in the face of not knowing. Sometimes this is what's required. But if we're so bound up inside and so demanding of the outcome of foreknowing, then we don't move and we're useless. It's like, think of some men on the battlefield and they're under attack and it's time to move. But this person is so paralyzed by fear that they can't move. Well, now they've become a burden. And so many, many times, it's better to act without knowing. Keep your eyes open. Don't act blindly, but act. And in the action, the wisdom is revealed. At least then we can iterate. We will get feedback. We'll get feedback from the world, from people. And we also get a different vantage point. See, when we act, we move and things change. The scenery changes. It creates movement in our lives. So if we think, here's what I've been shown, here's what I think I should do, but I'm uncertain. I don't know if this is the right thing, but I'm going to move from A to B. I'm going to take this action. I'm going to start moving from A to B. It might be wrong. I don't know if it's 100% right, but I know standing here still is not going to get me anywhere. Paralyzed. So I take an action. I start to move towards that goal. I start to move towards that next step. And in that movement, it puts me onto a path. And from that path, I have a new vantage point. Now I might be able to see that actually I get halfway to B and I realize, wait a minute, I see this C option over here. That option was unavailable to me when I was at A because I couldn't see it. I literally couldn't even see that as an option. From the vantage point at A, we can't see C. But when we start to move towards B, our perspective changes, the vistas open up, and we start to see more possibility. So in that willingness to move towards the unknown, towards uncertainty, possibility arises. And we experience greater freedom because in movement, there is freedom. In paralysis, there is prison. And everything that we're working towards in overcoming these core issues is the movement from prison to freedom. Fear is a prison. Lack is a prison. And control, building up these walls of protection and immobility, becomes a prison. So to get out of that prison, we must move. And sometimes the path is not clear. But we've always been given the first step. This is the way that it is. Because if we were shown the end in its entirety, it would be too easy. There would be no mystery. There would be no adventure. Our minds want it. They want that certainty, right? We don't want to act in uncertainty. It's scary. It's difficult. We might get hurt. We might embarrass ourselves. We might say the wrong thing. But again, that's how we grow. That's how we experience adventure in this life. If we knew every single thing that was going to happen, every single outcome that would be the result of those actions, where's the enjoyment? That's just living by rote, habit, pattern, nothing new, nothing fresh. No choice. But with the risk of making a mistake comes excitement. Yes, it's uneasy. But you can just remain in a prison. You know, they have a place for prisoners who are so terrified to move amongst the population that they put them in a cell in a special part of the prison, and they don't ever leave that cell. Now, some of them have done heinous things and made enemies in there as well, and they are simply preserving their lives by staying in that solitary confinement. That's the only way for them to live. They've created such a prison within a prison that this is the best option for them. Very unfortunate. But I don't think any of you are watching that are in that situation. But it might feel like that. So my admonition to you, my invitation, is to explore where you are trapped in life, where you are in paralysis through trying to control everything and everyone. And where you are in resistance. And what would it be like to have freedom from that sense of control? What would it be like to let go of control? How would that change your experience? How would that change what opens up for you as a possibility? So many people are telling themselves, I can't. I can't. And why is that? Because they are in a prison of their own minds, of their own making. But if you examine if that's actually true, why can't you? You're telling yourself a story. You're unwilling to let go, holding too tightly to your possessions, to your life in its current iteration, to the status quo, and hoping to just get a little bit better, a little bit more, or to just maintain what you have. It's interesting, there was an experiment done where they had these people pay for these cups, and the cups cost $1. And they found that the people would spend, once they had the cup in their possession, the people would spend up to $2.50 in order to keep the cup. This is an experiment that was done. And this is mind-blowing. This is human psychology. We will spend more trying to keep what we have than it's worth. Trying to control. Don't take it away from me. Don't take away my possessions. Don't take away my life in its current iteration, even though there's something better right around the corner. I can't see it right now, but it's there. But what if you could let go of that control? What freedom would that open up for you? What possibility? So contemplate these questions, because in another couple of weeks, I'm going to be discussing the codes for transcending these core issues. And I'm going to teach you a powerful practice for moving out of this prison of control and into a greater state of freedom and possibility. And until then, also begin to notice where in your life you are experiencing this limitation of control. Where in your relationships are you wanting control? And the tighter you cling, the less connection you have. And the more you try to control others, the more they push back in resistance. The more you try to control every bit of your finances, the less you experience wealth and abundance. The more you try to control your thoughts, the more they just run rampant. The more you try to control your emotions through drugs and sedation and distraction, the television, the social media, the meddling in business that you have no business meddling in, all to try to take the focus off of you. Where are you doing that in your life? Where are you imprisoning yourself, limiting yourself, and creating more and more resistance inside of you in your refusal to let go of control? Because I can promise you one thing, my friends. If I am unaware of something, I am powerless to change it. So if I go through my day sleepwalking, not even realizing that I'm sedating myself, my emotions, my capacity, limiting myself in this way, if I'm not aware of this, I will just continuously distract. All the while, my life is spiraling downwards. And the prison walls are growing. And the potential for connection, realization, and liberation is dwindling. So examine these things, become aware of yourself. This is the way to freedom. This is the initial phase, awareness. Once we have awareness, then we need a method. And we need determination to use that method. That's the way to freedom. So take these first steps. Ask yourself, where am I being controlled by control? Where am I imprisoned in my resistance, in my inability to let go? And what potential, what possibility, and what freedom would open up for me if I could let that go? This is my invitation to you, my friends. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for watching. And until next time, be well. Take care of yourselves, each other, and may God light your path one step at a time.